Welcome back to the Weekend Warrior Show Recap Podcast. I'm Ty from the Unemployed Architects. Haven't said that in a while. Ty from the Unemployed Architects. Like to throw it in, I guess. But anyway, I haven't done a podcast in a long time. Happy to sit down with Ryan Edward Wolf. He's co-piloting, co-hosting. Though we are going to talk a lot about the shows I've had recently, because I haven't done a podcast where I've talked about, my most recent shows in probably over a month. So,
oh wow,
I'm probably not going to go that far back, but I'm just going to talk about the recent ones a little bit, just to kind of, get back in touch with that stuff, because if I'm not talking about it all the time, it gets harder to, honestly, your memory of it can slip away a little bit. You don't appreciate it, because when I'm doing the podcast, it's like, and when I was talking about the shows every week, it's like your eyes are more peeled for more interesting kind of things that are fun, or like you just got a more open eye. So then right now, since I haven't done it, I feel like I haven't been as like aware of the moment, I guess. So
sure,
just wanted to get back into doing that a little bit. So I'm just gonna start with The Last Call in Penfield. That was where I played yesterday.
How'd it go?
It went. It was an interesting. I did my travel math completely wrong, so that was a fun start. That I really.
What happened?
I did what I call I big D'd myself. That's okay. Where, you get so used to trying to be somewhere early that you think you always have that leeway. Because usually, lately, what I've been doing trying to get to places at a reasonable time is I try to give myself 2 extra hours, like 2 hours from when I get there to set up. And, that happens almost never. When I do, it's great because I have all this time I can relax. I don't have to stress out so hard the whole time and just sweat, and then play, and plug. I can just, take my time, kind of ease into it, do a little sound check, maybe go hang out, maybe talk to some people.
So you were really rushing, I guess.
Yes, that is. So, I always think that I have a 2-hour leeway, and for some reason I got it in my head that if I left at 2, I would still have that.
So you got there like right when you were
supposed to start. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Which for me is not the standard. I hate doing that. I hate being that guy that's running late. Because usually, even if I tell myself 2 hours, I usually get there at least minimum an hour early. So that means I'm going to start on time, no matter what. Because an hour is plenty of time. Even if I'm a little over, I can get set up in probably a half hour if I had to. Which yesterday I had, I had to. So this place was out in the middle of nowhere, kind of Penfield, not a super big town or anything.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think of some towns that Rantoul, kind of by the Rantoul.
Oh, okay, I know. I know of that town. I'm not sure if I've been through there or not. Maybe I have.
I've played there one time, I think, in my whole career. So, but that town's not even that big. So, to say Penfield is small is like almost an understatement. But
I see.
I've seen their post, and they've had other bands play out there, and I've wanted to get in over there forever. So I finally linked up with the person, and then my first show there, I'm already behind. I'm running. I got there, I think, 10 minutes before I was supposed to start, and I may have, drove a little bit too fast again. I still could only get there 10 minutes early, but I
So the show started at 5, and you got there at like 4?
4:50.
You got there at 4:50?
No, it was 3:50. Show started at 4, I got there at 3:50.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you had 10 minutes.
And it was agreed upon that I was going to do my one-man band performance, so a bunch of extra gear to set up. Tiny bar, and as soon as I pulled up, I was like, I'm going to downsize everything. I'm just going to take the minimum amount of equipment in to make it sound like my one-man band. Because lately I've been going pretty hard in the paint with all my gear. I keep adding things and extra amps and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do it brass tacks. And I got started 10 minutes late, so I set my whole thing up in 20 minutes.
Wow.
So, and usually that's something that would, I would do it pretty fast paced. Would probably take like 40 minutes.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. So I started and I was kind of sweaty to get there, and but starting 10 minutes late isn't that bad. And I ended up and played long, a little bit action when I was supposed to be done. I played a little extra to kind of make it still the 3 hours that we agreed upon. But
that's cool.
It was probably the best show of the weekend, surprisingly.
And I know in the past I've helped you set up, and it takes us like a decent amount of time. I mean, we're not rushing, but thinking about trying to set up all that gear in such a short amount of time.
Well, the bonus too was that the bar was small, so it's like I didn't really need to bring as many bells and whistles as I would normally.
Have you started using bells and whistles?
Pretty regularly. I got it with my elbows. I can kind of hit them, but yeah.
How Dylan has his harmonica. You just have a necklace with a whistle on it.
Yeah, but yeah. So it was like I did a way lighter setup, and it sounded way better. I was really low volume. It's just easy to sound good, and I had this realization, which I've had numerous times, but it's always good to be humbled, I suppose, once again. But I had this realization that the previous shows were not my best. I mean, they're still kind of figuring some things out, sound-wise, and I just didn't feel like. I watched the videos; they were okay. It wasn't like they were terrible to listen to, but not my best vocal performances and stuff. And then I do this show where I do the minimum effort to kind of make it sound good, and it was easy to sound good. So it's like this lesson I always learn is, sometimes simplicity is the answer.
Oh, for sure.
Like I just overcomplicate things, and it's fun. I think part of it I do because I'm a little bored. Like I want to keep growing as a musician.
Bring something new to the table, sort of thing,
and just like make my sound bigger and different. And I've been doing a lot of stuff where I've been able to make my acoustic guitar sound more like an electric guitar, and just like a couple extra boost pedals, and I have this organ machine I've been using, just a bunch of extra things just to sound bigger. But sometimes, especially in this bar, it would have been a bad choice to do all that stuff because I was already, borderline a little bit too loud. So having just that mindset going in, it made it so easy. And it's like, I could do this every time. I could get set up in 20 minutes and just do the if I'm ever having a bad weekend of sound and just like not getting it's not hitting the spot.
You could have always gone just like straight acoustic too.
Yeah, we did that pretty recently, which we'll get into when we get to the Cypress Grove. So it's been nice. You've been on a lot of these shows. You've been either there or you played some songs or and it's been nice to have a fellow traveler, I suppose.
Well, I'm used to traveling. I like traveling. It's been fun just like getting to, just been meeting a lot of new people lately. And, when we played at the brewing company, where was that at?
Cypress Grove in Assumption, Illinois.
In Assumption, right?
Yeah.
See, that was really fun. It was just like all acoustic, sitting in that what would you call it?
Like a barn, kind of hangar barn kind of thing.
Yeah, that was really fun. Just like playing every once in a while, and I like it.
We'll get more into that show kind of when we get there. But so the overall, it wasn't a huge crowd at Penfield, but it was they all were just really nice and generous. And there was definitely basketball on that they were pretty captivated by, but with the way the situation was, me kind of making it there by the seat of my pants, I was kind of happy to not have the attention 1,000% on me right away. But it was so easy just to play my songs and find the notes. And so fast forward, or I guess rewind to the night before, I was at Davenport at Kilkenny's, a spot I play at pretty regularly. And lately I've just been trying to do this massive setup, which I'm going to share some pictures pretty soon on Twitter and Instagram, kind of showing what I've been up to on that front. But so I have my organ machine, which has a separate amp, and then I have my bass guitar and my synth strings pedal, some delay, overdrive, and a boost. And so I have my bass amp and my organ amp kind of stacked on my right and the PA on my left. And so I got there, and it was busy. Like, it was busy to start. People were drunk right away. And I got there early enough to, pretty much take my time to, probably an hour, 20 minutes to casually load in. But there were, like, drinks everywhere. Like, I could tell, like, on the stage, like, people have been drinking all day.
Really?
Yeah. And then, so I get everything set up, and I'm doing, like, a kind of one of my sound check songs, and there's this drunk guy who gets up on the bar during one of my songs. And I mean, you pretty much only do that when you're drunk. I don't think there's a time where, like, sober think that's a good idea ever. But anyway, so he was like, because I think he was playing like a Chris Stapleton tune or something just to sound check my standard sound check song, and he's like, play me something to dance to. So I was like, okay, and I thought about it for a minute. He was a little older, so I was like, I could do a lot of things here, but something upbeat, and I just thought Shut Up and Dance would be the most logical solution, because at least
Walk the Moon.
Yeah, it says dance in the chorus and in the title, and I thought maybe that would. And within the first verse, I broke a string, which
God.
yeah, was not. It's never fun when that happens. But within like the first strum, and like it was like everybody was kind of paying attention at this point because the guy had made a big fuss and stuff.
It's like a whole nother level of frustration when it happens live.
Yeah. I mean, it's always
frustrating.
Yeah, it hurts your heart just to it like drops for a second, and then like, okay, and then even for me, like I don't know if it's just my obsessive personality, but when I have a guitar that has strings on it for a long time, and then I put a new one, it just like doesn't sound or feel right to me until that one's worn in a little bit. So it's like, to an extent, I'm like, this guitar isn't gonna sound quite right for a while. Maybe till I restring the whole thing, or so that's annoying. But so I had an extra guitar, so I just grabbed the extra guitar, and the mix was so different when I did that. I was so like, caught in a loop.
Caught off guard.
Yeah, like thrown for a loop. That's what I was trying to say. It was like I couldn't quite get it to sound as good as the other guitar I'd spent time dialing in, and it was like I was already in motion. Like I didn't have a lot of time to. Because I was supposed to start, and people were kind of paying attention. And if there's a crowd somewhere, it's like you keep them. I don't want to be playing to an empty bar, because a lot of times at that place specifically starts pretty slow, and then by the end of the night, it's like there's a college town, so people are super super packed and. But that, I feel like that was a good metaphor for the whole night. There were a few tables throughout the night that were kind of into what I was doing. They liked the Zach Bryan cover I do, and I think that kind of won them over, because they were kind of like that alternative.
Zach Bryan song.
Yep.
Taking over the world.
Yeah, Zach Bryan, one person at a time, I think. But
yep, pretty soon this globe is going to be orange.
Well, so I got this request for Zach Bryan, which I've talked about a few times, but I kept hearing his name, checked him out, finally learned one of his songs. And, when I play it, if it's the right crowd, it goes over really well. Another guy that even that night I got a request for, and probably the most requested artist I think I get at these bars I play.
Johnny Cash?
No, I wish it was and I'm blanking on his name. Waylon
Jennings?
No, that would be a lot cooler.
Marlon Wayans?
What is that guy's name? So Morgan Whalen is his name. Sorry, I couldn't think of it. Drove me nuts.
I thought that was a girl.
Nope. Guy has a nice mullet and everything. So he's the most requested guy, and I tried to give him a listen. It's just not my cup of tea. I've tried a few times to. He has some music that I don't dislike. Like he has some like cool textures, and the recording quality's good at points, but I just get that request so much. Whereas Zach Bryan, which another guy struggled with his name for about, still to this day maybe, but because you got Zach Bryan and Luke Bryan, there's a lot in this country, so a lot of confusion.
Fits right in with that,
right?
Those other categories.
But I can get behind his music a lot more than I can I already forgot it again. Morgan Wallen guy. But it's crazy. Like it last probably 7 shows I've had that request, and I did on that Saturday as well. But anyhow, so the whole show was just a lot of me just trying to find it, and I just couldn't quite. Like I came I wanted it. I came full throttle. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna, rock it out. I was really into playing guitar. I ended up doing like way too long guitar solos a lot of the time, and I just with the bigger sound, it's been more fun to just like go off on these tangents, and I don't feel like a lot of times when I used to play lead and I'd be doing the one-man band, it would drop out. It just sounds like empty so I refrained from it. But it's been really fun to kind of be able to just jam some improv solos and some real solos and just have like a really like big sound with it.
Yeah.
And but the lesson I was saying is that if I would have just maybe took it a little easier, it probably would have been a lot easier to find my sound find my feel, find my sound that night. And I just like couldn't quite get there. Again, I don't think it sounded terrible or anything, but it wasn't my best. And that's what if you perform all the time, that's what you're gauging everything by, is your absolute best, which is pretty harsh to do because obviously there's only a handful of times per month probably where I feel like I'm at my best, but every other time is compared to the your absolute greatest point. So if you're playing 90%, it still sounds pretty good, but it's like in your mind it feels so terrible, like it's like you feel bad almost that you can't get that extra 10%.
I feel you.
But so the whole show was just kind of that, and it was busy all night, and it was a lot of just me playing covers and trying to win over the audience fairly unsuccessly. I mean,
was that a 3-hour gig?
Yeah, that was a 9 to midnight, and they started doing this thing last time that was a little kind of not ideal. They have another room that were playing like DJ music in, which I get it. I mean, people like to listen to that style of music, but a little confusing because they paid me to come and play, and then in like that last hour, they're playing music that you can hear when I'm not playing. Like I can hear it, and I'm at the loudest spot. So like if I can hear it, I'm playing a song, I stop, I can hear it. That means that everybody else can hear it then too, and people further away can probably hear it even better. Maybe even you're hearing two different songs at the same time, potentially. Yeah. And I don't think that that's ever a ideal situation.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not as the performer. Maybe most casual listen. It would drive me nuts if I was listening to a band and they were playing other music, or vice versa. If you're listening to DJ music and there's a band like that's covering.
Kind of disrespectful.
To an extent, yeah, but what am I gonna do? I don't know. It's like a weird, because the bar is more of a college bar. It's like they come in droves, and it's not really all about the music necessarily. So how picky can I really be? And at a certain point, it's like, okay, well, it is a job, so I'm gonna have to do things that maybe aren't the absolute most ideal all the time. But so there was that, and then there was the drunkenness. It was just like, I like that bar sometimes. Like I've had some really good, fun shows there, but there are a handful of rough ones too that come along there, and it's just because the amount of people. It's like really, really busy all the time, but they're not there to see the music. So I mean, sometimes you get a whole crew of people that are just all about it and right up front and like singing along with you, and then sometimes you get just a lot of very uninterested people that they're chatting, they're having their good time, but I'm just kind of in the background, which can't hate on that really either. But the double music was a little weird. But yeah, so that was the Saturday night. The Friday night, I played over in Ottawa, or up in Ottawa, at Dockside.
Oh, cool. That's where my dad is from.
Oh, nice. So you've been up there?
So, yeah, several times.
Right. It's like a little river town. Yeah. And the Dockside would
Fox River runs through there, I believe. And then, yeah.
It's right on the river, the Dockside. That's why it's called Dockside, because it's like right on the dock.
That makes sense.
Who would have thunk? But it was a Drury day, and it wasn't like I was going to be playing outside because it's March, so it wasn't super busy. But
you should be playing outside in March. It's just been a cold winter every year.
I think I have a little better gauge when...
I feel like I remember, there have been times in the past where March was actually pretty nice. That's
yeah. I agree with that, but to book a show 3 months in advance and hope that it's going to be okay to be outside is not something I think that happens. I mean, like the one on Sunday I played, because it was like 65 yesterday, and I could have played outside. They had a nice outdoor area, but even 65 for, an older crowd maybe, or people that just want to sit and drink, it might be a little too chilly for them. So it's hard to plan that really far in advance, and it wouldn't have worked out because it was cold and it was rainy at the dockside in Ottawa. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like I feel like I'm in this mode where I've had some really fun, good shows with this big setup, and then I get carried away with it, and I didn't feel super comfortable for that show, and I should have. And that's the price you pay for experimenting. You're in debt to the process to an extent. You're not gonna have every amazing show. Every show's gonna
has to be a learning experience.
Yeah,
and you start to get to a place where you feel a little bit more like comfortable.
But with this one, it's like I felt comfortable right when I started doing it. I'm like, this is there's something here. This is awesome. And then I go through this thing where it's like, okay, well, so I'm doing something not right. Maybe I'm just too loud. Maybe that's part of it. Because I don't wear in-ears, I just have one little monitor and hearing the mains, and I got the bass.
Have you ever thought about getting in-ears?
I've used them. I mean, I've had them. I go through phases with most things, and I usually once a year I'll be like, I'll try them once, and I'll be like, this is awesome. Why am I not doing this all the time? And it's kind of the same thing where I think it's awesome, and then I have a couple bad shows, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I stop using them, and then I do them ones without the in-ears, and then I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is way better. It's like, the first time I use the in-ears, it's the same experience. It's like, oh, this is awesome. And then I kind of taper off, and then I take the in-ears back out after maybe a month or two of using them, and I'm like, why did I stop doing it this way? And part of it, ear protection. I should be
Definitely.
more.
That's important.
Yeah, but there's like no way to do it is the problem. As the kind of musician I am, because I go to a place, I set up all my own sound. I have to hear how it sounds to know what it sounds like. I don't have somebody out front that I can trust to do the sound to even help me out. And that is a problem that I had while I was using the in-ears. Sometimes I'd be thinking, oh, I sound so good. This is awesome. And then I'd get somebody come up and be like, we can't hear vocals that good. Can you turn up? Because I'm not hearing what they're hearing. I'm hearing like in my earphones. So it's just a weird, it's hard to do by yourself. I think if I had an out front guy, gotta get the shades
bright in here.
It is. We gotta have the good lighting to make it look awesome. But that all being said, at Dockside, the crowd was great. I mean, they were few but very mighty in every aspect. Like,
that's good.
When I got there, I was kind of scared because it was like 2 people, and then another 2 people came in. The first 2 people left. I was like, oh, it's gonna be a long night. And they were getting dinner, so I was like, they're definitely not staying. They were maybe a little bit older than I am, so I was just thinking they were gonna want to get out of there. They were just grabbing dinner really quick. They stayed the whole time.
Oh, cool.
And then said really nice things after, and other people came, and it was there were some of them were musicians, and they were very generous in a lot of ways, and very appreciative, even though I didn't feel like I deserved it to an extent.
Don't give yourself enough credit.
Well, I do and I don't.
It's a lot of work doing all that, setting up, playing for 3 hours.
Well, it's just like too. It's if I'm changing things throughout the whole night. I'm having to do my own sound, so. And that this might just be a thing where my ears are fatigued. It might be a thing where, because that was my 3rd show of the week, and that was Friday, and then I played Saturday and Sunday. So it was a long week and a lot of ear probably damage ultimately, but it could have been that. Could have just been that I was too loud and I just couldn't hear my notes vocally as well as I would have liked. But you still get the good crowd reaction. It's like you can't be. And I listened back. There wasn't again, that 90% thing that I'm talking about, where it's like you rate yourself on 100%. That's the grading curve. So anything lower than that feels like an F.
Sure.
Because you want to get that 100%, and there's just no way to get it every time.
It's like anything when you have like, an expectation for how something should be done, you want to get it to that 100% like you were saying. Yeah, there's a standard, exactly. So it's like when you can't live up to that standard, you start to...
You want to go up. You want to go over the standard. You want to be like even better than you were the night that you were at 100, and that's your new grading curve, is the new 100. But,
not every... sometimes you're gonna have like a B movie night. Like,
right.
It was good. It was enjoyable. Like, was it a classic? Probably not. And then you have a night where it's like more of like Scarface, or I don't know. Yeah. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
A different kind of classic than.
I'll go. Wait, I'll go.
That's like you.
I know. He'll keep calling me. He'll keep calling me and telling, this is crazy. I'll go. Wait, I'll go. I don't know. I'm not very good at impressions, but
you do some good ones. You pull them out sometimes.
It's one of my favorite movies. I love like everything about it. Just the dryness of it and like the silliness of it. Like, yeah. I kind of base my personality off Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I watched it all the time. I wanted to be Ferris Bueller.
Yeah. Who didn't, though? I mean, if you didn't, if you wanted to be Cam, that's messed up.
Unfortunately, I tried to be Ferris Bueller, but I was Cam.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not even in the movie, so I'm like one of the side characters. At least you're one of the main.
You're like Ferris's dad. I'm just trying to avoid you all the time.
Well, you're Cam, so.
Yeah.
I'm more like Cam's dad. I'm a dick, so I'm really worried about my car.
I'm gonna crash your Ferrari. And that is kind of a good analogy for our relationship.
All right, so then...
Anyways.
Thursday night, Coffee House. Weirder show than I'm used to just because it's more the local scene. I'm happy to kind of try to get back into that when I can. And Bridget put it on, and Gerard and the Dusty Lemons were there, and Greg Brown Band, and James Montjoy, and... Is that everybody?
I was there. I just didn't
Dylan Carricker. He was there too, and it was just fun to kind of do that type of show. I feel like those are different muscles.
That was a fun show. I happened to be present at that show, believe it or not.
You didn't cam out on it.
I didn't. I definitely didn't give you a ride there. We didn't drive there together or anything. But it was a fun show. I love those like. More low-key, kind of just like acoustic, like everybody came and had a good time, but everybody was like listening to the music, which was that is so cool.
Different, and I didn't bring my elaborate setup, I just plugged straight in, and maybe this had a little bit to do with why my shows on Friday and Saturday were a little rougher, is because I'd done 2 shows that week, the previous week, where I just plugged direct in, no effects on vocals, no effects on the guitar, so I get kind of used to doing it that way. And then the Friday Saturday come around and I'm doing all the crazy effects and all the crazy pedals, and that might have something to do with it. But again, I think that it's a valid muscle that I neglect at points, so that you should be able to go up there and get a room like kind of going just with you and a guitar. You don't need all the fancy bells and whistles. Yeah. And I think I do really good at that, like the Cypress Hill show, where it's like just acoustic, just unplugged, no amplification. I love shows like that when they go well. I mean, which most of the times they do. But then playing just my guitar amped and my microphone is a little bit harder because it's not something I do very often. So. And it was a short set. It was like 5-6 songs, something like that. And it went okay. I mean, I feel like it's
fun. I thought you sounded really great.
Thanks. Appreciate that. I'm a little more self-conscious because, you're more naked in that situation. You have nothing to hide behind.
That was one thing that I like. Yeah, try to keep that in mind. Like, whatever you write, like, think about yourself performing that song. Like, you want to be able to, sometimes the nice thing about doing like those, raw like acoustic sets, is you get more practice of like, just like it's you and a guitar and
nothing to hide behind.
Nothing to hide behind. It's straightforward. It's simple.
But again, it's like weird because I do feel like in the situation that we were at the Cypress Grove, I can knock those out of the park normally because it's like I practice like that all the time. But just having that one extra, or I guess two extra things, amp and mic, it kind of made it weird. And then to the next extent with all my gear, or like how I played on Sunday, which was most of my gear but not the new stuff, I do that just fine. So I have these two other areas that I need to work on. But it was just fun to do that type of show and just have that mindset. Go in, just plug in and play instead of having to set up for an hour or 20 minutes, depending on how late I am. And it's a different mentality in being there. Like, it's just a lot more laid back for me because I'm not like running the whole thing. And then we had
well, and the nice thing about, I think you were the second act to play.
Yeah,
you get to sit back and enjoy all the other bands without that anticipation. Like, okay, I'm going up next.
I don't know. I struggle with offstage syndrome. I think in general, it's just like if I go and play a show, I always feel a little awkward when I'm sitting in the crowd. That's why it's hard for me to sometimes take breaks when I should, and because you go out there and then I don't know if it's just the vibe I put off or whatever, but I end up and just kind of sit by myself and just, I've gotten better over the years trying to, maybe start a conversation with maybe the person who booked the show or whatever.
I'm definitely the same way.
It's just a weird, if the music's good, then you don't worry about it as much, which in this case it was a fun night with a lot of talented people. But if the music isn't enough to kind of take me away, I get trapped in my head and like I'm not good socially in a lot of other ways than being on stage.
It's probably why I feel like when I go to shows, like, once the bands start playing, like, if it is, like, really good, like, inspiration hits me fast, and, like, I'm just standing there, like, just, like, itching to play.
Right.
Like, sometimes I'm just like, okay, I just, like, want to leave.
Want to
so
go
I
get
can...
a guitar in your hand.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which you went to the festival, what was that festival called?
Oh, yeah. So I'm trying to think when that was. It was
Friday, right? Or Saturday?
It was...
Saturday.
Would have been Saturday. Yeah, Birdfest was going on over Coffee House in Deli.
Which it was weird because I played that Thursday and then or the next day. So it seemed quite contrasting, the two shows. Because, I mean, there were some people at the show on Thursday with the local acts, but it wasn't super busy by any means.
It was pretty crazy. At least by the stage, like halfway through the place, I mean, I would say it was pretty much shoulder to shoulder. And, it was like a bunch of like indie punk bands. And, first of all, they were all terrific. Like, there wasn't one group that, I was like just so impressed. And, the last few acts especially, I was just very captivated. And I was so surprised. Yeah, so, a bunch of college kids, obviously. But, I mean, there were mosh pits going on. And, like, there was even crowd surfing at one point. And it was just kind of bizarre to see that in the coffee house.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't really associate the coffee house with those types of shows. You played there once, right, with the Dead Ends?
Yeah, Liam and I from Dead Ends, we played there in, I think it was 2018. And there wasn't a ton of people, but...
So it's more like the Thursday show, but you played full band.
It was weird. I think it was on a Tuesday, and it was, like, at a weird time during the day, like...
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird, but...
I vaguely remember that.
But it was fun. Yeah, I had been there before, and, the Thursday show, I had a lot of fun. I was like, this is the most fun I've had at a show in a really long time. And then going to Birdfest on Saturday was just like, icing on the cake, so to speak. Being at the same place for one and seeing that contrast, it was just completely different vibes.
And then of course my brain's going. It's like, well, how do I get on those shows?
Trust me, yeah. Gerard and I were there, like, looking at each other.
Who even puts that on? I've never even heard of it before.
Yeah,
I didn't see that. Obviously, I'm probably a little older than the.
And these kids, like, were singing the lyrics to several different bands, like multiple bands played, and like they knew lyrics to, like, different songs from different bands. So it was just really impressive, and that kind of gave me hope a little bit. And especially since,
I did notice that right away. You were like, I need a bass player, I need a drummer.
Yeah, because, when Liam and I were doing the Dead Ends thing, that was just so much fun. It was kind of short-lived, but it's like, we had, written an EP, recorded some songs, we played, a few different shows. But I was just like, I've always loved that rock sound, and I miss it. Yeah. And I think I needed to go to Birdfest. In fact, I was kind of insisted on going. I wouldn't have gone probably if I wasn't somebody was like, you need to go to this. So I was like, okay, I'll go.
And Gerard was that person?
Gerard was that person. And it was just awesome. It was just awesome. The bands rocked. The uniqueness of their sounds. I would say they were all tonally in a similar place.
Yeah, you showed me one of them that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that would have been Kangaroo Court. So that was the last band that performed, and those guys just
threw down.
It was so crazy. It was so cool, and those guys definitely have a bright future ahead of them, I would say. Shout out Kangaroo Court and all the other bands that played.
Yeah, so just a different kind of show. Those are the shows that I wish I could figure out how to get on, but you just got to keep trying, I guess. I don't know. I may have aged out of some of that, but
I was thinking about sticking around and trying to talk to some of the other bands, just to be this is who I am, this is what I want to do, how do I jump on this. And hopefully, there'll be other opportunities, because now just to follow some of these bands.
Yeah. And just pay attention to, try to figure out where they promoted it. And that's half of it, because, if they promoted that show there, they'll probably promote other shows.
I just want to take a look at something real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Monday show while you do that. So I had a show on Monday, which is kind of a weird night to have a show. And this was with John Bell, who I think is from the New York area. Just kind of traveling through. It's a Monday, so I didn't expect there to be a ton of people or anything, and there wasn't, but it was a good chance to practice that flexing those muscles that I keep talking about, that are just I'm gonna play just originals. I'm just gonna plug in, no pedal board, no vocal pedal, just straight in. And this is how it sounds. And so it was a good chance to do that. It was longer sets, more 45 minutes. And it went. I feel like that one I sounded maybe a little better at than the one on Thursday, but much longer set, much more time to kind of get comfortable on stage. And yeah, it was fun. The other guy was pretty good. I feel like he would have fit really good down at in Nashville with the songwriter nights down there. And so he's solid songwriter and good singer, good performer. And so that was Monday. I don't think anything. You were there. Do you remember anything else specifically, or you got some cool pictures? I posted one where I was looking at the marquee. I thought that one was cool.
Oh, yeah. No, I would say, I couldn't stay very long, so I watched your set or whatever, and, work, I got that work life
grind. Yeah, you got it.
But, no, you sounded great. It was cool somebody bought one of your records, I'm pretty sure.
I've sold more records this last week than I have in a month or so, because I think there's just a different...
It's vinyl season.
Yeah.
Springtime.
Well, I think it's, I'm playing original songs in kind of a local show. You have a higher if I don't even bring them out when I play at Kilkenny's, because they're all young kids and they're not really there to see me, and I'm doing a lot of covers, and just in my experience, it's what's the point of even getting them out? Because I've never sold one there when I would get them out, and it takes extra time to set up your little display and everything, and it's, I don't know, I have them, I have them on me if somebody is really interested in my original music. Sometimes I'll throw it out there and be like, I do have vinyls, but in that situation I don't really sell as many. But when I play kind of more the local show, where it's more singer-songwriter kind of oriented and original music, they seem to go a little bit faster, which is nice. It was a pleasant surprise. Every show, both that Monday and that Thursday show, I had zero expectations. So having zero expectation going in, it's like you can only go up. So, and I knew I'd be uncomfortable, so I wasn't really expecting 100% on the performances like we were talking about earlier. So, that pressure was off because I let myself off the hook a little because I knew it wasn't as familiar, me playing that style. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy busy week for me. And then the weekend before that, I had 2 shows on the Saturday, and then I had a show on Friday, which was St. Paddy's Day. And so the 2 shows on the Saturday, one was early, it was a farmer's market, which they had somebody cancel. So I'm kind of the go-to cancel guy sometimes when people know that they can call me and I'll probably show up if I can. Like if they book me, there's probably a little bit less probability of the person that canceled.
I see.
I'm reliable if nothing else. That's what I'm trying to say. And so that worked out fine. It was snowing and it was bad weather, but I just played completely unplugged. And we did that later at the Cypress Grove show as well, which that was a little weird because we got there and they were going to put us in the back room. And
that was so weird. They would put you right next to the sink where people kept coming through
to get water, and wash their hands, and so that would have been weird. But we noticed that
dirty water splashing up on you.
That's where all the brewing gear is too for their brewing.
You're like holding a note and they splash it in your mouth. Exactly.
No, but and the last time I played there, it was kind of it was a long time.
They just throw your tip money in the sink.
Kind of.
Wasn't there a sink right there?
Probably need to wash it off anyway, right?
Yeah, dirty money. There's a lot of dirty money going around.
But because last time I played there, I played in their front room and I just played completely unplugged. The time before that I played there, I did the full elaborate setup in the barn. But people did want to sit out in the barn because it wasn't the best weather and it wasn't super busy to begin with. And so the next time there was actually people like inside at the bar. So I was like, okay, well, we'll just play acoustic here. It'll be easy setup, easy tear down, and be around the people that are wanting to hang out and listen, because it's kind of just a weird setup to have the bar in one spot and then the playing location is different. And they have the back room that they were going to have us playing, but we saw that everybody was sitting out of the heated barn, so we were just like, let's go out there, let's just do it. I think you actually convinced me to take the plunge and just do it, and it turned out way better that way because it was there were more people, and if I would have played a full setup in that barn, it would have been too loud for those people. So
plunge definitely would have been if you had played in that kitchen.
Yeah, would not have been ideal.
No.
But maybe people would have came and hung out in there, but I doubt it. It seemed like people were pretty comfortable in that barn. But it all worked out great. They had the heaters, and I played unplugged. And in that situation, I feel like I can usually sound pretty good. Plus, I had the practice from the morning, the morning completely acoustic. It was weird how the acoustics were so different. Like when I played at the farmers markets at the arena in town of Bloomington, it's changed its name a bunch of times, can't really remember the new name, but I think it was US Cellular at one point, I don't know. Anyhow, it's the hallway is where the farmers market is, and it's like a big open room, and it's like kind of sounds like a pool, like that kind of acoustic.
That's cool.
Like billowy sound. So you carry pretty easy. Whereas at the Cypress Grove,
it's just dry.
It seemed pretty dry and like dead. Like there were a lot of things to absorb the sound. You're not bouncing off a bunch of things. So it was just like the contrast, even in that. Which every room is like that. Every room has those differences where it's like hard to sound good in some with all your gear, but also, just at its core, even without the amplification, the rooms can be so different. So then when you add amplification in, it makes things, even more complicated to try to make it sound good, which I think is why, sometimes it's so frustrating when you're setting up all your gear and you just can't get it to sound quite right. And you get some experience where you can try some things, but it's a balancing act, and sometimes that part of it does get neglected. I notice with me is like some nights I'm really, really focused on, turning down and getting it to sound just right, and sometimes I'm like, well, what song should I play? And sometimes I'm like, want to play like hard guitar solos all night, and so it's like your attention has to be across so many things, which is kind of nice in this situation where I had 2 shows where I didn't have to do all the sound, but you still have that variance in acoustics. So it was still a little uncomfortable at first at the second show, even though I'd all warmed up and everything. And then the Tabs were there, which was
cool.
No, you met the Cypress Grove, the Tabs.
Oh, the Cypress Grove
right,
place.
Right,
yeah.
So they were at the Cypress Grove, and they're big fans of yours as well.
Yeah, they're really nice people.
Yeah.
I like talking to them.
And I think they're planning on opening a brewery pretty soon.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
They do the Tabapalooza every year. They've just always been like the nicest people to me over the years.
Wonder if I'll be able to play at their Tabapalooza.
I mean, they've wanted...
with my punk band.
They've wanted you to play before, and I have mentioned it to you, but, the situation just didn't really work out, I think, the last couple times. But, I think that if you can make it happen, they'll definitely have you, because I think they're pretty impressed with your songs, ultimately, and it was cool, probably for them, because they see me too much, so, to have that kind of a little
new
bit...
flavor.
Yeah, a little bit different.
They're sick of vanilla, and now they're going to strawberry banana.
That could possibly be it. But, so that was a lot of fun. It was kind of just...
I don't know why I chose that flavor for myself, but...
What strawberry banana? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't know.
Have to Freud it out, figure it out. Anyway, good show. There was a couple other people that were more than just halfway paying attention at that show, but there was a couple tables in the back throughout the night, and everybody was very generous, but it wasn't like 100% focus on us.
Right.
But we had some people's attention, and sometimes that's all you need is just like a few people that care and are into
3.
it. 4. We had 4 that night.
4, yeah.
5 if you count me. You were.
And honestly, there were like 7 at one point.
But you only need 1 or 2 that are like into it, and you can just play to those people.
I mean, I always think about like in situations like that, where Kurt Cobain, for example, used to say like, if there was like just a couple people there, they would call that a show.
Yeah.
So it's like a show is a show. Well, even if there's no people there, you're getting paid, like you're still playing a show.
Yeah, which you'll have that once in a while, but more common is the show, like the one I had on Saturday, where it's like people don't know that you're playing. They just show up and you happen to be there, and maybe they aren't like 100% invested in what you're doing at all, or at least a good majority. I mean, there were still some people that, were kind of dancing a little or like into it, but
yeah.
So it's just a different vibe, and even the people's attention I had that night were still kind of, not 100% on what I was doing. Which again, it's just a different type of show. It's not good or bad, just different. But having, the Tabs there and that other couple that was there that were really dialed into what we're doing. I mean, it just makes it more fun when you have like people that are really.
People too that keep coming to the shows.
Yeah, I always say like it's like having a cheerleader kind of. It just brings up your vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm willing to take more risk a lot of times if I have those people in my corner, because they're not going to be as harsh. So sometimes when the Tabs come, it's like
they're going to be like, oh, he's trying something new.
Right. And when they come, I'm always trying something new, because I'm like, they've heard me so many times that
I definitely think at this point you need more bells and whistles.
Well, I got my fair share.
Just get some chimes that you can just
wipe every once in a while. Yeah. Just gets bigger and bigger. But so the farmers market, like I was saying, was pretty slow, but it was just fun. It was early, and I sounded good. Still feeling good from the night before, and the night before that, a couple of things that were fun. We went to I had the day show because it's St. Patty's Day, and it was like the craziest amount of people in that space I've ever seen. Like, and it was early. I played at 1:00. I got there at like noon, and people were already there getting hammered. And it was a fun show though, because I would say more people were into what I was doing.
There's a lot of Irish people around here.
It's true. There was a bagpipe ceremony. So, but I ended up playing almost the full 4 hours. I played 1 to 5. I took like a 10-minute break because I just like.
And then later that night, we went and saw No Robot and John Till.
Yeah. And that was awesome. I don't get to go to shows at night a lot, so especially on a Friday night. So having, I got my main thing. I did the show. I played for 4 hours. I was played out at that point, and then to go and actually just get to enjoy a show was fun and be kind of more, because that's that local scene that I just wish I was kind of more a part of. And Till was out there hammering out original songs to a bar of people that were
he didn't care.
Yeah,
he just did it.
And that's just how he rolls. I get so caught up.
Great set, John.
It was good.
We
were up there paying attention, and maybe that's the same thing.
Sounded fantastic.
We were all he needed to rock it out. But
that washroom song that he played last is just like, I love that song.
Yeah, he just has such a cool sound.
Yeah.
And then No Robot played, and they're always just solid. I mean,
they do that rendition of Peanuts, Charlie Brown.
Right. Yeah.
They just kill it. And then
they did the Pink Floyd song that I didn't know was Pink Floyd and thought it was really cool. I can't remember what song that was, but and they did a Petty tune I really like, and they just sounded really strong. But they always sound really strong.
And they're working on some new stuff too that sounds like just really great.
Yeah, I've heard a couple. I think I've heard 3 or maybe 5 kind of demo versions of songs they're going to go in the studio and record. So
yeah,
that's pretty exciting. And I don't know. I've known Alex for a long time. Kind of see him around, but it's been cool to kind of be more of a friend.
Yeah,
because I've had him on here a couple times. We've done some shows together. He knew our old hand percussionist because our old hand percussionist used to play in their band, and just watching them can be pretty inspiring sometimes. He's a great guitar player. Their bass player is really, it's a 3-piece, so there's a lot of room to fill, and each one of them, Toad's kind of the master of everything.
Yeah,
he can pretty much do anything, and just watch them kind of rock it out. But it was just fun because I don't get to go to those types of shows, and I was happy that we made it happen.
Fun. And I enjoyed it too because you and I never get to go out and do anything fun.
Right. Like today, you wanted to go to the guitar shop.
I wanted to go to the guitar shop.
And then I had to rain on your parade.
I know.
But I got stuff.
It's just there aren't any guitars here.
There's 2. We don't have enough.
I'm in the market for a new guitar. You know how it is.
Well, you went to that show, and it made you want to play in an electric band.
Right.
But I will say that the show I've been playing, which changes pretty periodically, but I've been able to get such a better rock kind of sound. It's been so much fun to it just feels so powerful sometimes when I'm playing some of those, like the Black Keys or a couple of my originals that are on electric, or and then I go into these solos and I can really just make them sound so big, and sometimes they get carried away and kind of lost in it a little bit, but it just, I haven't been able to do that in so long. So to have that kind of come back into play, because I honestly just wasn't even sure how to get that kind of feel back with just my one-man show. So having the option to just bust out some rock songs like White Stripes or Black Keys or a few of my original songs and give it kind of more that rock kind of electric feel has been just a lot of fun. But as I mentioned, I'm experimenting, so sometimes you crash and burn with that stuff too. But
like your amp explodes.
Just the whole PA.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. It's an ongoing thing. It's always changing. I think that if you are a musician, it's probably good to not stay too stagnant. And you're kind of feeling the same thing. You want to start doing more electric guitar.
I'm going electric.
You're like Dylan, going electric.
Yeah, because basically what happened was I wrote 30 new songs in the last few months on acoustic, and I think what was going on really was my brain saying, okay, get these songs out of your system because the end of March you're going electric. So that was all just me warming up. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, and played with the bass player, and
yeah, Jude
Gerard has been playing with you.
I met this kid a few years ago, Jude Vincent, and he's a younger dude, but he plays bass, pretty talented. And Gerard, plays guitar, very talented.
Very.
And we're looking for a drummer still. Nothing's really set in stone, but we have like 7 songs pretty much already done.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think maybe once you start getting more comfortable with the band and...
we might be able to figure out how to add stuff. Like, because it's like the songs are like one thing now, but it's like once we start jamming with like a drummer, like things are subject to change,
And I just think you'll be more... you'll feel more inclined to maybe try to book more shows, and
definitely
it'll be easier for you to get behind playing in a band than just playing solo, because sometimes you have issues with that, it seems like.
Well, a lot of the shows that we would be playing, we would only get like 20 to 30 minutes probably.
Right.
It's just kind of how that scene works, whatever. And there's not much cash, behind it, but it's not really about that. It's more about like just being part of that community. I've always enjoyed like that style of rock. I've always listened to that kind of music. I just right now want to do something different. Liam and I did our thing with Dead Ends, and I miss him. I wish he was here because he's a really good drummer and a great friend. But yeah, I think we'll get there. I mean, there's a lot of musicians around here. Somebody's got to play drums.
Yeah. Drums are fun, but I'm excited to kind of see where it goes, and maybe I'll get a jam on some drums for you once in a while. But it should be a good experiment to kind of see where it leads you. Seems like it'll be a different path, a different trajectory than you're on currently, and that's always exciting. It'll probably inspire your recording, some different styles of song that you'll probably try to... It's always interesting to watch to see where your mind's at, because a lot of times it's not in straight lines. I feel like you kind of zig and zag quite a bit.
Very indecisive. Thoughts are
I wasn't
all
saying
over the
that,
place.
but you can say it.
Yeah, I just want to do something different. I want to play rock music. I want to jam out.
Jamming's fun. I miss it.
Me too.
It's nice to, when I'm doing the one-man band, it is a lot more fun, but I can't just like let loose, because I'm always having to at least hold the beat down a little bit,
That's another thing too. It's when you do the one-man band, all the pressure is kind of on you.
Right.
That's why I like the idea of playing with a group of individuals. It's more of like a collaborative thing, and it takes a lot of the pressure off you.
Yeah. I will say it is a double-edged sword, though, because if you rely on people, you rely on people.
You can't rely on anyone these days.
Well, that's kind of the point I'm making, is like relying on a person to show up and do the things that you expect them to can be tough sometimes. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case. I think it's a push-pull thing. I think that there's great things about doing the one-man band performance. I mean, I'm a better musician probably than I've ever been because I forced myself to do that.
Yeah.
But I can't just sit back ever, When I used to play with Blair and used to play in the band, I'd get whole songs where I'd just be a guitar player, which is such a different vibe. Like, you're not, the pressure's, you're just playing rhythm guitar. You're just having fun. It's like not so focused. You don't have to be dialed to 10 to play adequately. But
right.
having the whole band to hide behind, and then having songs, and then you get this synergistic thing where sometimes Blair was singing and sounding so good. It's like, oh, I got to step my game up, and then he does a little better because maybe I step my game up, and then. I'm trying. We just not. It's like a healthy competition, and I think that it can bring you to almost new heights.
Yeah,
having kind of people's energy to build off of.
Does Blair just does a one-person thing show, right?
Kind of. I mean, he'll play with our old bass player Kev once in a while, Apex Overdrive, but he's been releasing some singles under that, which is all really cool, kind of 80s sound. Yeah. I think I've showed you a few of those. And so check that out, Apex Overdrive on your Spotify. I think we've got a good covered most of the things I wanted to get to. Is there anything else you want to...
Just...
You put some songs out on Facebook. Those were cool.
Thanks, yeah. Just, I put out a couple of the songs I did with, Janae Thomason and Alex. But, yeah, I'm not really sure what I want to do with those songs.
They're good songs.
Yeah.
I think that you shouldn't sit on them too hard. I mean, I know that putting them on Facebook, at least people hear them, can hear them, but I think that they're good. You should maybe do them up, get an album out there. You don't have to play them just because you did them.
Right. I'll see what I can do.
All right. So I think that's it. I think we're going to ramp it up here. I talked a lot. My apologies. But anyway, I appreciate anybody who took the time to listen, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a good one. Bye.